before you cut those calories, have you looked at other factors as to how to create a calorie deficit without taking food away? My guess is not. So in today's video, I want to talk about the 3 dieting rules and also how do you go about making adjustments. So the 3 golden dieting rules, at least in my opinion, are: rule number 1, diet off of the highest calories possible. And this should really be the goal from start to finish. Rule number 2, look at other factors before cutting out your food. So other factors meaning looking at your energy output. Can we create a calorie deficit by increasing energy output before taking that food away? And last but not least, diet rule number 3, less is more. This right here is probably the biggest thing that gets people into trouble, because when it comes to making adjustments, people like to go 0 to 100 because a lot of people are impatient. But if you make a big adjustment, it doesn't necessarily mean that your progress is going to come a lot faster. So I want to give an example on how to make an adjustment. So what I have here is I have an individual, their current fat loss macros are 150 protein, 200 carb, and 50 fat. They're currently doing no cardio. Their current step count is 4,000 steps per day. But they notice that their progress is starting to slow down, is starting to stall out a little bit. And they've been following these macros for the last 9 weeks, and they're doing the right thing. They are implementing refeed days and diet breaks, but they're noticing that things are slowing down, and they want to make an adjustment. So what do? So instead of cutting food, I would rather increase energy output, because that is going to create a calorie deficit. Because think about it. If you're moving a little bit more, you're burning a little bit more calories, which is going to create that calorie deficit that I'm talking about. So what we're going to want to look at is the energy output. So instead of cutting food, let's look at how can we make a change to their energy output. So we're going to look at their steps or their cardio. So they're currently not doing any cardio, and they've been dieting for about 9 weeks. So what I would do is I would leave the cardio alone. I don't want to add in any cardio right now. And the reason for that is because cardio tends to be the form of exercise that people just abuse and they go in on. And let's say this individual started off their fat loss doing 60 minutes of cardio 7 days a week because they think that's what they need to do. Something that people need to understand is just like how your body can adapt to caloric intake, it can do the same thing with cardio. So if we were to adjust cardio, if they're used to doing 60 minutes 7 days a week, it's like, what are we going to have to do now? Increase cardio to 80 minutes 7 days a week? That's way too much. And it's definitely not necessary in this case. So cardio is a tool, and it should be implemented when it's time. But for right now, it's not the time. So my next thing that I'm going to look at is their step count. So they're only getting in 4,000 steps a day. So what I would do is I would actually increase their step count to 5,000 steps per day. And of course, I would give this time. I would see how progress is coming along within a week and then make an adjustment from there. Now, let's say we have to make an adjustment to their macros, because obviously as we diet down, we can't kill ourselves with energy output. So we're going to have to cut our calories down. But when it comes to cutting calories down, remember, less is more. So if I were to make an adjustment to this person's macros to keep progress going, here's what I would do. I would leave protein alone. Never ever pull calories from your protein. Carbs, I would actually cut the carbs down by 10. So now they're consuming 190 grams of carbs. Fats, I would even cut fats down to 47 grams of fat per day. And so that may not seem like a lot, but But if you look at it and break it down in regards to daily calorie intake to weekly calorie intake, it really kind of puts things into perspective for you. So let's take a look at that. So since I pulled out 10 grams of carbs, 3 grams of fat, what that comes out to is 67 kcals. So that's 67 kcals that they're not going to be consuming on a daily basis. Now, when we take that, we multiply that by 7, because there's 7 days in a week, that comes out to 469 kcals. So what that means is that this individual is going to be consuming 469 calories less than what they were from the week prior. And this right here is what is going to keep their progress going. So just remember, when it comes to making adjustments, a little bit goes a long way. Before cutting out the food, see if you can go about creating a calorie deficit by increasing energy expenditure.